Welcome to the first episode of the I Did It First podcast. I'm Riley.
I'm Anna.
And we are here with our producer, Kenny.
Say hi, Kenny.
Hello, I'm here.
And this is our first episode. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm really good. Just little
just
poops, but good.
Good.
Yeah. How about you?
Can you give me some more to work with there?
I told you, you're running me into the ground with this new fitness regimen, but I'm totally, your competitiveness comes from me, so I will not bow out.
Yeah, we've been working out really hard in our brat summer, if you will.
I guess so.
Just walking, getting our steps in, waking up early.
Yep.
I hope it sticks, but
it will stick. But we'll see when daylight savings hits. I'm a whole different person when it's dark at 4:00. So
that's very true. But
the day wraps up.
To just take some time to introduce ourselves so you guys could get to know us and kind of who you're listening to before we just
jump right into it
and just verbal vomit all over you. I'm Riley, like I said. I'm 23. I grew up in SoCal. I'm still living in SoCal. I live with my parents because I can't afford to live anywhere else. So yeah, rent is free, but I pay with my emotions and at the cost of my mental health. I love you.
At the cost of your whoa.
I work at a spin studio as of recent. And yeah, I've just been in this routine that I'm not really slowing down because I recently had hip surgery, which was a product of playing water polo growing up. It's very popular in Southern California. I feel like the water polo world is just kind of within our bubble, and that was a huge part of my life for so long. But there was some serious wear and tear on my body, so now I'm just recovering, and this podcast is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time now. It's something that I'm sure a lot of people have talked about doing, but we kind of put it on the back burner for a little, and it's something that we just feel so passionate,
compelled to do.
Yeah. And
a lot has happened. I'd say in the last few years in general. I think, with going through everyone's got family stuff. Everyone's got, I never think that our circumstances are more difficult or challenging than anyone else. But I know we all try and figure out how we want to deal with our stuff. As her mom, I've watched you throughout this journey, and I feel like, I don't know, we've had so much to talk about in this process, and then we've shared with some people, and then it's like, gosh, I wonder how much of this we could share with someone else that could help.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people don't want to share what they're going through because we all feel so stopped, kind of embarrassed about all the shit we're going through. And it's like, the reality is when you start sharing, you find so many other people want to open up, and that's what's crazy.
Just setting that tone for others. But yeah, we have been through a lot of shit like other people, like you said, not that we are above anyone or, but I also think that it's brought us a lot closer. In high school, I was close-ish, heavy on the ish with you.
I mean, it was typical,
but it was just like teenage, I know better.
Yeah.
And
you could be a real a-hole sometimes.
Gosh,
I mean, you were a typical teenage girl.
Yes. But still closer with you than I saw other friends were with their parents. And I knew that, I guess I didn't know at the time that our relationship would grow and that we'd be so much closer. And that's something that I'm so grateful for now because it's just worse.
And I always knew. I mean, I always say
it didn't take that long.
No, but I always knew. I always say that I knew that I wanted you. I mean, I was 18 years old and I already knew. I was like, I'm going to have a daughter. She's going to be Riley. We're going to be best friends. So it was part of my plan. You just kind of messed with it for a while.
Yeah. So here we are, and we are best friends, and she is my favorite person in the world. And that's why we are doing this, is because our relationship is, I mean, honestly, the most important in my life.
Yep.
And it's something that I value, and just your advice and your opinions. And although I'm younger, I feel like it does go both ways.
It does go both ways. I feel like there's a lot you teach me.
Yeah. But
daily too.
Yeah, and that's also why we're here, is just to share our experiences, and even in our close circle, and at random interactions at like Trader Joe's and wherever, the nail salon, people are. I feel like we really just make people feel comfortable.
Try and make an impression, like in a good way.
In a good way, and so that's why we're here.
And that's kind of brings us to the main point of so like a lot of people, you think you're going to do something, you put it on the back burner. And then this year so I had hip surgery in the beginning of the year. I actually wasn't a water polo player. I don't know what my reason was. It could be genetics. Who knows? It went really well.
Yes.
I mean, I was up and walking and I was like, oh, this is great. So by the time it was your turn, I think it was really difficult to kind of, we should have even known, I think, that coming out of surgery, things were very, very different for you.
Yes.
Even when I went to pick you up, and I don't know how much of that you remember, it was just, I was crying. You're already breaking out. So I'll kind of go through this in case I don't know how much of this.
Well, even just with the hip surgery, I think, it was just a very shocking and like quick.
It was quick.
We were thrown into it. Like we knew and had anticipated that you were getting hip surgery. And then I was on top of having played water polo for years and years and years, from a very early age. I started running, which was like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pretty, but I would do it.
No.
I looked like a dog with socks on. But
running was not your natural
but I loved
sport
it,
for
and
sure.
Then I signed up for a half marathon, but then towards the end of that training is when I really started to notice some serious hip pain that I couldn't just ignore anymore. And that's like where my quality of life
was
drastically went downhill. So that being said, like we knew you were getting it, and then when I went to just go
because it was like 10
hip,
years before I did it.
Yeah.
From diagnosed to actually getting it done.
Action.
But you're like, I'm in pain. Let me go run a half marathon, which I was like, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Should I do it? Yeah, better not. But
granted, I did.
Yeah.
Because also I had to prove something. It's like this crazy.
You're like, Anna did it. I'm going to do it.
Of course. Duh. She did it first. And so, I got my hip checked, and he's like, you have to have surgery. I won't even entertain the idea of like a cortisone shot or just postponing this.
Well, your age was a factor. So if you don't know, like, especially being me, like I'm headed toward, like he could say in 5 years, you could have a hip replacement. But for you, you're a long ways away from that. So you want to fix it. And it should have been as easy, if not like easier routine, than mine.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like super healthy, non-drinker. Check like all the boxes on the survey.
Yeah. So
I go, like, even picking you up, even when they called us, they said you were having such a hard time. You weren't out yet. And I was like, this is not how this is supposed to go. I thought for sure it was going to be so much easier.
Like a very quick surgery, and I was under for longer than.
So we opened the door, and they kind of signal us to go right back to you. And they said, we're giving her so much medication. It's not helping. She's crying in pain coming out of surgery. Now, mind you that you're numb in certain areas. You've been heavily medicated. And they're saying, we can't give her anymore. She's already had too much, but she's in so much pain. So then being mom, like you can't, all logic goes out the window. I was like, help my daughter. So they give you more, and then you break out. I don't know if you remember this.
I don't. Okay, so
like all of a sudden,
I could not
a full-on rash on top of that.
I couldn't even really comprehend enough words to like relate to my nurse.
It was awful.
But I just was in so much fucking pain, and like, oh my, I don't even know how to explain it. It literally felt like my whole
there when I woke up, I couldn't feel anything. I mean,
crazy.
Anything, like zero. I had no feeling. It wasn't even pain. I had numbness.
No, it was horrible. And I remember like asking my nurses, like, you have to fucking do something. Like, I'm in so much pain. And
I'm gonna get sad all over
Don't get sad. I can see you. I know. But I don't remember breaking out in a rash, but I remember everyone around me was kind of like,
because they all came in.
But because I think at that point they had given me morphine.
They'd given you a ton.
Because also too, to put it into perspective, I'm 5'11", like 150 pounds. Like I'm not small. So they're also probably trying to see how much,
you could tolerate.
Yeah. And yeah.
So we ended up staying like 2.5, 3 more hours. Like we should have been gone.
Yeah. I mean,
early that day. And so even going home, taking pain medication, that was different. I didn't barely need any. Again, it's because I didn't feel anything. So I was watching you like writhe in pain. It was actually crazy because I felt and I felt like I set such an unrealistic expectation. And that made me feel like such shit. Like,
no, not like you shouldn't feel like shit. But that's why I think I was really motivated to get it done, was because it's like I
did it first.
Yeah, she did. But with all due respect, like, it's my mom. Like, she's older than me.
Okay.
Not old. You are older than me. You have to be older than me to have me.
Right.
And I just saw, like, she, like, ate that. Like, it was fine. Like, you handled it so well. And I felt like you were up and walking and just back to life, like, no problem. So that's also why I was like, okay, I'm just going to pull this trigger now. Because it's like, if this is something I have to do down the line, I'd rather just do it now and, you know, be bedridden for a little now versus anticipating it like you had. But yeah, I remember taking painkillers. I was on like the perk diet for a couple days, you know. It was horrible too. And already I was really reluctant to take pain medicine because there is like addiction in our family, and I've even seen like ex-boyfriends and friends coming out of surgery. Like, it's a very quick process.
Progression.
Yeah.
I'm sure so many people can relate to that.
Yeah.
Family member, friend, everyone's got someone in their life. I feel like
I didn't like the way it felt because I just was literally sleeping all the time, and then
you wouldn't wake up.
I was sleeping.
That was
like,
but see, even that was different.
48 hours after surgery, I probably slept 16 hours a day, maybe even more. I'd say, like, I was legit sleeping the entire time. I'd only wake up to go use the restroom.
And then it was that Friday that you decided to, like, I don't even want to take this.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done. I legit have not eaten since like surgery. I feel like, you know, when you just feel like you're just full of medicine. Like, I know that sounds cheesy, but and I get it. Coming out of surgery, like, with all those chemicals in your body, I just felt just not well. So
then we come to the turning point that kind of brings us to why we decided to jump on this and just really kind of hit the gas. And so it was that Saturday.
It was the 27th.
And April. Riley was really anxious to take a shower. I'm sure, like, having surgery and not being able to even just get clean is like one of the worst feelings ever.
And actually, Friday was my post-op, the day before. Yeah. And he said, like, he was like, no, you're good.
You're good. He made it seem like no problem. Like, you want to go to the mall? Like, go.
Do it, yeah.
So Saturday rolls around. She's pretty excited. She, you know, got showers
smelling
coming.
Like a taco truck the past couple days. Like.
And I was like, okay, we're going to open the windows. It's going to be cold. I, of course, was nervous. You weren't worried. I was a little worried just because I knew, like, it's just scary. So Riley goes, we go in the shower, and then
I'm in my parents' shower because it's bigger. It's like I can just walk in.
It's easier to walk out of it. Right, because we even helped you out of it.
Like,
yeah, so shower seems to be going fine, but I think you said this is when you started to have, like, I think they say it's like an aura, right?
Yeah. So I remember I was like, I had just rinsed out my shampoo and put my conditioner in, let it sit. I was like washing my body. All is good. All is well. And then all of a sudden, there's just this like wave that comes over me. And I don't know how else to explain it other than an aura, like this feeling, because it's something that has never happened before. And it's something that, knock on wood, will never happen again. But yeah, I just remember getting like very overwhelmed within an instant. And stop, don't cry because I'll cry.
I'm good.
And just being just super overwhelmed, and like I did not even rinse out my conditioner. I'm telling my mom, I was like, I have to get out. Like, I have to. And then she starts, you know, like mom mode. She starts trying to understand like what's going on. You know, she's like, what's going on?
So we get you out of the shower though.
I get out of the shower, and it's just still my mom and I in the bathroom, and she is looking at me, and I'm standing up, and at this point I'm like leaning on their bathroom counter just because I know And let me preface it by saying I have had and have passed out like multiple times in the past, so I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Like I know I can tell people like, oh, I'm about to pass out.
You can
like
jump like off a
clockwork.
30-foot pier as a lifeguard, but you can't get a needle poke without.
No, or going to the dentist to
Yeah.
get my teeth cleaned. Like, so I knew that something was off, and that's why I was like leaning against the counter. And I remember my mom asking me like what is wrong, you know?
Well, because at this point, I didn't realize. I thought so whenever you were feeling that in the shower, I felt like you were getting irritated with me.
And I was not getting irritated with you. I was getting irritated with the fact that I could not
Right.
like articulate what I was feeling
And that makes
how
sense
to
now.
explain that to you.
But
Yeah.
I thought you were honestly just
being a
giving me
bitch.
attitude. Yeah. And so she's like staring up at this like looks like the hardest eye roll. I was like, how's your brain? Can you see it from where you are?
Which is also not out of pocket.
But
like,
it took like
that's why-
seconds from the time I was like, Riley, because of course me can't shut up. I'm just talking away to realize that she's gone completely. I'm totally going to lose it.
No, don't. Unconscious. Yeah. But
Completely unresponsive.
I think the way I could explain it to you right before, it's like when actually how like movies portray being high or drunk.
Oh, that's right.
And like like I'm blinking, and the black between my blinks, like the darkness between blinking, was lasting like 3 to 4 seconds, and everything felt delayed, and I like felt like the high, like Project X vibe where they're showing it from like the partier's perspective. That's like how I felt. So yeah.
So I didn't realize you became completely unresponsive. Like you probably had already stopped breathing at that point. But you felt, because you were up against the counter, and I think if it wasn't for that, obviously I would have noticed.
Yeah.
But then you fell into me, and that's when, I mean, I was screaming like bloody murder. Because, okay, 5'11", 5'7", like do the math. Like I literally couldn't even hold you. And then I was so scared because your leg, as you're going down, was completely twisting.
Had hip surgery on.
And so I'm screaming for everyone, Dad, Beckham, everyone to come into the room. And I literally thought you died. It was like the worst day of my life.
Ugh, don't. That makes me sad. I know. But, well, why too? I feel like you should explain that part.
Okay, so, I mean, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I feel like you have to.
Okay, so Riley completely emptied her bowels, and that's what happened. It's disgusting, but that's what happens when someone dies. Like, that's a very normal part of that process. And so she's not breathing. She's completely unresponsive.
Point did this happen? Like, did Beckham and Dad had they come in the room yet? Or I've actually never asked. Like, or was this still when it was just you and
I can't. Yeah, and I honestly, because I keep saying I have no idea when I called 911. I don't even remember having my phone with me, to be honest. So that's why I can't even place that moment.
Yeah.
Like the shock of me, like all I could think about was like,
no, don't say
like
that.
what would I do without this person in my life? Like I literally, so somehow we get you to the bed.
Yeah.
And Dad is literally like, I don't know. You've never seen Airplane because you're too young, but that's what makes me think if he was slapping you so hard.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like going to tell him to stop because I was like, wake her up,
But yeah.
Just to get you to breathe. And mind you, all this is happening and Riley's completely naked. I never dressed her. So.
Well, I didn't even have, we couldn't even take a beat.
No.
It all happened so quick. But
and we still don't even have her all the way on the bed because your leg was still twisted.
Yes.
We were all so scared. So we're just trying to get you to breathe. And before we could even pull you up on the bed, the fire department was there. We live right around the corner from the fire department.
Less than a 2-minute drive.
So I have never ever in my life felt more grateful about that ever in 1,000 years. They were there faster than one of us could normally pull out of the driveway. It was insane.
But,
and
I remember, being half on your bed because I was still in my parents' room. I had just gotten out of their shower. So
you started waking up.
Yeah, to my dad slapping me, and at this point I'm going in and out of consciousness.
Yeah,
and I can see you freaking out on the phone, calling 911.
Yeah.
And then Beckham in
I was still on the phone
room.
with them as they were coming, or dispatch or whatever. Yeah.
And then Beckham in the corner of your room, like by your dresser, and just like this, like that kid
was in shock.
Shock, yeah, like complete shock. And then my dad's like freaking out and crying, and it was such a scary experience for me. And this is something that I've like reflected on since it's happened. But it was obviously a lot scarier for you guys because
I mean,
I
even
was unconscious.
like,
and
the neighbor, like we heard, our neighbor, I guess she just started crying because she said, as a parent, she, and she's a grandparent and a great grandparent. She's like, I heard that scream and I knew something terrible had happened to Riley. And she just started, like, her daughter was like, my mom's been crying. Like, what is going on? She's like, something's wrong with Riley. I was like, oh, now I feel really bad. Like, I feel bad everywhere.
Don't. But, so the firefighters and paramedics respond. Oh, brother, this is like...
Well, first there's a bad element in the mix on top of this trauma. Like your ex was...
Well, that's...
how he showed up in the middle of all that. But that was very odd.
Also part of why even this like podcast and pursuing it has been on the back burner. It's because I was dating someone who was not
supportive,
secure in themselves, so they weren't supportive, and he couldn't be. And that's something that I realize now. But I had told him that I was getting in the shower and just to come in the house, and he said that he saw the paramedics and firefighters for the fire truck turning down our street as he was turning down, and he was just waiting outside. But yeah, so
I think that's like, that just made it really clear it was not your person.
That is not my person, because
when I saw him outside, he was standing with our neighbor. I was like, do you not want to know what's going on?
No.
I was hysterical. I know I was hysterical.
But that's like...
But that's a normal reaction. Someone you love. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's like seeing the way you reacted and the way you...
And he's laughing, like hands in his pockets. He looked cooler
like
than
he looked like a nosy neighbor.
Yeah.
Is like the best way to put it in the driveway. And aside from... I mean, the fact that I was naked and then all these hot firefighters and paramedics, that probably did eat.
That might have been a highlight for you. Luckily you're in great shape.
And 2 days off that perk diet, like I had not eaten anything. I was just sleeping.
Oh, that's right. Because they say that will like back you up, but you were clear at that moment.
Thank God. Seriously, yeah. Surgery backs you up, but lucky for me.
I mean, it was so scary. Like even when they showed up, and I don't know if you remember this, but so. Beckham, Dad, and I were standing there, and they're like, "Can you put something on her?" And I was like, my mind.
I remember you guys were like yelling.
I was like so mad. I was like, it's not
Yeah.
time for like an outfit. Like thinking, not realizing you were literally standing there like, I mean, OB table ready. Like,
ew, it's so cringy to think about.
I know. And
It's
so
so
I turn
embarrassing.
around and I'm like,
Which is why it like should not even be embarrassing because of the
no,
situation.
they probably see so much
But
worse.
even when I woke up, I remember I was like, what the fuck is that smell? Like the
I
shit in the
know.
bathroom.
I'm sorry.
So, and then all these like,
But, like, nobody cared.
Like, bring out the calendar firefighters. Like, bring out the hottest HB firefighters that are working today. Yeah, and I was just so
Short of them
mortified.
coming in like a smoke-filled room.
Slow-mo, like fog background, like but
The steam from the poop.
yeah.
It's the smoke.
That was the
The
steam.
cow pile.
But that's just it. Like, and I even when I left so at some point, I even had some of my sweatshirt, remember?
Oh gosh, I remember.
And I was like so distraught and I just remember Dad going, you should probably change. I didn't even smell it. That's how bad like my trauma was because I
don't even know.
It was right here. I should have definitely
I
smelled it.
physically cannot think about it because
I know. He threw everything away. Don't worry. Like,
yeah. But so we went and we were transported. I was transported to the hospital by the paramedics. And this is what I did not know is even if you show up to the hospital in an ambulance, they'll still see you based on like severity of your accident or the call. So like if you get brought and transported to the hospital in an ambulance, but it's like something that they rule isn't top priority,
right,
then you're not getting seen right away.
Yeah,
they're
but I
still
feel
waiting.
like, and this is where I'll give like a major shout out to HB Fire, because the doctor at that hospital, which I won't mention, they were like a little and like the firefighters were like, did you not hear what I said? And they kept repeating like the circumstances. They were like very insistent on like, this is urgent. Like,
yes. But
and which
that's
is
how I
good,
knew it was
because I felt
urgent.
like that was such a mom thing to say. I was like, that guy, it was so
That's
good.
how I knew it was urgent. Is because it was like a Grey's Anatomy scene, and I'm getting rolled into the room, and like, I mean,
It felt like there
everyone,
was like a dozen
multiple
people in
nurse-
there.
in the room. It was crowded with nurses
It was.
and doctors and everyone, and it's like people are putting sticky whatever to do like a what's it called, an EKG and all this stuff, and it was just very like fast paced. And even I do remember the paramedics, of course I remember this, staying with us in the room for a little. Actually, no, this is probably the highlight of that day. Highlight.
She calls it a highlight of the day.
Is
I gotta hear this now.
being carried from the gurney. That's what it's called, right? Being transported from the gurney to the hospital bed, and this paramedic, he who shall not be named, love of my life, he moved me like so effortlessly. Yeah.
Would you call it like a Beyblade?
Yeah, it was just so easy. And I told her, I was like, stop, you're making me feel so skinny. And yeah, and then back to a serious note. Yeah, so we were in the hospital.
See, that's why I love you so much. You can take like the worst day of my life and still make me laugh.
And
about
I will
it.
say, put a pin in that because I'll come back to that. But
I'll bring you back to your reality.
the only time you were very calm and collected and just like mom, you had to be mom mode, like,
which is
even,
crazy
you were
because I
putting on a
told you.
front, but the second it was just her and I, she'd like, you broke down, and that's where I physically was so like drained, literally, and just tired that I couldn't even be sad. I was just so out of it, but you composed yourself very well, and
which is
give
crazy because
kudos
I
to
told
that
you,
because,
and this is like my teenager reference of like Twilight movie when Bella's turning into a vampire and she's like screaming on the inside, but no one can see.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
No.
I felt like I was literally that hysterical.
Yeah.
And so when you said that, I was like, there's no possible way.
Yeah.
I was complete shit show.
No,
I was
and
like
other
squirrels in
people-
traffic,
other
like for
people,
sure.
When we were trying to get a hold of my orthopedic surgeon, we even called like my physical therapist. And he later said that you sounded like so normal in the like he had no idea because you sounded so like composed.
You too can be that calm if you have enough trauma in your life.
Yeah, what do you say? Cool as a cucumber on the outside, but squirrels.
Yeah,
in
that's
traffic on the
crazy.
inside.
But like that whole day, I think is when I made up my mind. I think even watching you like open, because every time you were in that bed and you would just open your eyes, it was the same. I don't want to say dead stare, but like you gave me in the
Like
bathroom,
lifeless,
like just
yeah.
completely. And then I would just start crying all over again. And I think that's when I made up my mind. Like you have a turning point in your life. Everyone has something. I think hopefully that can. Like I'm grateful for that moment, not for almost losing you, but
I'll take that pin out now because that's what I was gonna say. It's like it was this horrible and I mean tragic, fucking scary, like literally the scariest moment of my life, no question. But it like propelled us into like literally doing everything, even now to like our routine and not taking things for granted. Like we are literally not taking anything for granted, and it sucks that it takes something traumatic to happen. It does, but it did, and like here we are, and we're so
I
much
mean,
better
I think it
because
was
of
even before the weekend was over that I sent these guys a message, and I was like, I'm not going to wait another minute. Like I literally could have never had this opportunity, and if nothing else, it's like I want to have this for us forever, and. You know, now we can just draw on all those things. Like we even said, like even your friend that just came over recently. And it's like, I love to be able to talk to her. And I love, you know, there's so much that I think just as being able to share experiences. And by no means, like, do we have like
everything figured out?
No, or professional advice, but I think experience helps. We're
blunt too, and we'll tell it how it is, and that's like what we're gonna do on this podcast.
I lack the ability to bullshit,
sometimes
and so
to a fault,
often to a fault. Like I've even professionally, personally,
but it was a catalyst, I think, for both of us.
Yeah,
and even like going into surgery was in a relationship, and very quickly after I was out of one, because it was, like I said, like it was not I can't take anything for granted.
No. Well, and I think I tried to even be that mom. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're going to figure it out. And that was probably the first time I'm like, okay, I know I wouldn't tell you, but I'm going to tell you this time. You got to get the fuck out of that situation.
I did. Like, I knew.
Like, you were given a second chance. Like, do not blow this.
100%.
Especially on someone that, you know, you gotta do life with someone better than that, because I should have seen that panic. If you're going to McDonald's and hanging out at home, like,
I need to see the Anna panic.
Yeah.
Or just like, that's your person.
Like it should have just had an effect. Like, I think it's normal to see someone react in a way that, you know, I don't know. It was so bizarre. The whole thing was so bizarre, really, but with him anyway, but with you and I, like, I think it's affected the whole family. Mm-hmm. I think even just going through the process of figuring out what it was, like basically like a grand mal seizure, which if you haven't seen one, they're horrific. I actually have seen them before, and it's awful.
It's awful.
But I don't know, just even the thought of...
And I've been to multiple doctors since, like neurologists, everything.
No one really has an answer, which can be really scary, because I feel like sometimes, at least if you have an answer, you're like, okay, this is how I manage it. Everyone's got health issues of some sort. You just figure out how to deal with it. But when someone says, okay, don't swim, don't drive, oh, but we don't have an answer, you seem otherwise fine, just don't do all those other things that could be really dangerous for you. And I'm like, but literally you breathe in water, so what am I going to do now? So
and that's why we're here. And it took us a little while post that whole... Yeah,
there was some of that, but...
Just because I was so tired and so out of it for so long, but I'm back. And I feel like I'm, as cheesy as it sounds, I feel like I'm even better.
You are. I look at it like, you know what, like, you know how sometimes you just have to turn your phone off and turn it back on?
Oh, it was like a hard reset.
It was a hard reset,
Hard reset, Cleared all those bugs in your bathroom.
But it's better.
On the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
So horrible, so embarrassing, but we're here, and we're just really excited to share this with you guys and with each other, and I love that I get to do it with you. You're my favorite person in the world.
Oh, you're my favorite person.
And I'm just I'm excited. That's like finally happening. And I know I look calm even just saying I'm excited, but I'm just like
no, because it is.
I think all the time thinking about it. Like it's and everything as cheesy as
it's about saying yes to a lot more things too. I think in general,
and not talking ourselves out of things like a lot of people do, or you just try to downplay situations. Or
I'm not going to do that either.
You know, but this is something that has been heavy on our hearts for a really long time, and that's why we're here, like just finally pulling the trigger, because
ready to talk about everything and anything. And if you know me, that really does come nothing off the table. So I may apologize in advance.
Good call.
Good call. You may be offended. I'm sorry if my sense of humor offends you, but you know, it's just how it is. It's part of that authentic kind of nature that I just really want to keep highlighting. Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for listening. Like I said, I am so grateful. I cannot express it enough, and I'm just ready to see where this takes us.
I won't cry anymore, I promise.
Yeah, don't cry, because then I'll start crying.
I know.
But this was our first episode of the I Did It First podcast. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Riley.
I'm Anna.
And we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.